Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, creatures of all ages, welcome back to the Civilian Armory. So, I showed you before how to install a fire control group in a rifle. And I told you that we would make videos about how, the other stuff. My lower that this rifle is being built in finally came in, so I went and picked that up today and wanted to so in this video we're going to talk about parts identification, what parts go where, so on and so forth. I'm not gonna make it one video to assemble everything. I'm gonna make shorter videos of how to assemble things. May put one or two groups of parts in at a time, and so on and so forth. So this one will kind of be parts identification, because if you're new to this and you ordered one of these kits online, they're pretty common, or even say you ordered all the parts individually, and for some people, just having a big pile of parts in front of them can get kind of daunting, not knowing every little thing, where everything goes, what everything does, so on and so forth. So, and this is the Civilian Armory. This is for regular people. Most law enforcement agencies have one person that does this for them. He's generally referred to as an armorer, he or she. Same thing with the armed services, the armed forces, the military. They have an armorer who does, all of their check work and so on and so forth. Most of those, your different law enforcement agencies and departments and stuff, and as well as different branches of the military, they're not building rifles to put into the field. Those rifles are made by a manufacturer. So even their armorers, they probably do a lot more inspecting of rifles and repair of rifles than they do assembly of rifles. Not that one is any more difficult or less difficult than the other, but so that's what today's video is. So this first video today, I'm going to release a few today. So either how, just parts identification, right? This is our stock, butt stock. It's what goes against your shoulder, right? It's what you put your face kind of down on. Sometimes some people do, some people don't actually. But either how, this is our stock or butt stock on anything generally other than a rifle length gas system. You'll have an adjustable stock, because our next part, the receiver extension tube, also sometimes referred to as a buffer tube. The kind of the official name is a receiver extension tube, but it is also commonly called a buffer tube. And my lighting sucks in here, but there's holes here, and here that your receiver locks into. So this is a 6-position adjustable receiver extension tube. I don't have any pistol tubes handy, and I'm not going to talk about any other kinds of buffer tubes, but this is a standard carbine receiver extension tube, carbine buffer tube, whichever you want to call it. Those terms are interchangeable. On the buffer tube, we have the castle nut. I'll show you here in a second when I get it off why it's called the castle nut. It's called the castle nut because it has those spots on it, cause it to look like the top of a castle. Then we have our receiver end plate that has a indexing point on it. That indexing point indexes to the hole in the back of your receiver so that it can't spin. Okay. Some of these will have a QD. Some of them will have a sling. It'll have like an eye that sticks off the side. You can attach your sling there. I personally don't attach my sling to the receiver end plate, but some people do. So this is just a basic one. It's just got the stamped part there so that it can have a divot on the back to index properly. Inside of our buffer tube, we have our buffer spring and the buffer. Twist him out of there. This part is the buffer. This is just a standard carbine buffer. This one's nothing special. This rifle that I'm talking about here today is what I refer to as a closet rifle. No, not that it's an unannounced homosexual or anything. And there's nothing wrong with being homosexual either. So, if anybody's watching that is homosexual, hey, I support you and I support your right to have guns. I want everybody to have guns. I want everybody to have a lot of guns. I want the homosexuals and the entire LGBTQ community to have guns. I want black people to have guns. I want white people to have guns. I want Asian and Hispanic people to have guns. I want Indian people to have guns. I want Nordic people to have guns. I want Mesoamerican people to have guns. Can't think of a group of people besides the government that I don't think should have guns. So, yeah. I want you to have guns. I want you to know how your guns work. And I want you to use your guns to defend yourself, to defend your family, and to defend your loved ones. So that's your buffer spring and buffer. Pistol grip. This one is an MOE K grip. Nothing special. Came with the kit. You've seen this before. This is our fire control group. And I'm not going to make another video of how to put that in. There's a previous video on how to put that in. But this is a different gun, so it's not in yet. But I'll put it in before I start with the assembly videos. Here we have our trigger guard. This is a Magpul trigger guard. So it's got a little dished kind of curve to it, so that they call it like a winter trigger guard for gloves. And then we have this pin to install it and the screw to install it, and then that screw there is the screw for our pistol grip. When we talk about all that, I'll show you that some more. Setting that aside, we have our buffer detent and buffer detent spring. Here we have our mag release, the mag release bar itself, the mag release button, and the mag release spring. And it is nice that Palmetto State Armory segregates these little parts groups out for you. Here, the two little gold pieces, they're brass at the bottom, are takedown pin detents. The springs that you see inside there are takedown pin detent springs, and then the two pins, and they are different, that you see in there are takedown pins. Here we have our bolt release, the bolt release itself, the bolt release plunger, the bolt release plunger spring, and the bolt release roll pin. Here we have our safety selector, our our safety selector detent is the shiny piece there, the brass piece. And then we have our safety selector detent spring. And that is the identification of the small parts that go into a lower receiver. Just real quick here. So our trigger guard will go here. Fire control group goes through these two. This hole here is for our safety selector. This hole here is for our rear takedown pin. Your rear takedown pin, detent, and spring go through this hole. Our forward takedown pin, detent, and spring go in, trying to get it in the light here, that little hole right there. Our forward takedown pin goes through this bigger hole here. Our bolt release will come in from this side, go through here. The threaded portion of it goes through that hole. Our bolt catch sits in this notch here. There's a hole there where the plunger and the spring go, and then our safety selector, detent, and spring go through this hole, and then our pistol grip comes on and holds them. So that'll be the end of this video. I will throw that fire control group back in, and then we will start assembling from there in smaller little videos. Thanks for watching.